That's true. That's true.
All right, let's see if this is. I think we should be good now. Perfect. It's there. If you want to share it quick, I'll do the same.
Okay.
Give us the sign. All right. Oh, there we go. There's the big slick bat
Good
signal.
slick here. All right.
Yeah.
Large slick. Hello.
All right. So thanks everyone who's hopping on. It's an exciting day that we've been waiting for quite some time, Russ, in the release of the Big East schedule. I don't know about you, but here we are almost towards the end of September, and it took us a little bit longer, I think, than we all expected to get the schedule out there today.
Yeah, it's just another milestone as you kind of count down the off season, right? Like you have, when the freshmen show up on campus, and then you have when classes start and when the non-conference comes out, and this is kind of the last big one here. It's the Big East schedule being released, and yeah, a little later than we're used to. We usually get it right around Labor Day, but these are weird times. I mean, at least we have a full schedule this year. We have
exactly. Yeah, not in chunks here.
It's right, and this isn't like last year where we're getting maybe 3 non-conference games that we figure out the week before.
Yep.
And then see how many Big East games we could get in. This is a real schedule.
It is. So we've already got someone who dialed in here. So if you don't mind, we'll get to you in a minute. But I did tweet out the link there. If you want to call in and share your thoughts, I could drop it in the chat here as well. It tends to work best if you're on a laptop or computer there. It's 50-50 shot. But in terms of the schedule that came out, Russ, any initial thoughts, takeaways from it?
The first thing I do whenever we get a schedule release is I kind of just scan through and like mentally go, okay, 1-0, 2-0.
Yep.
Kind of try to figure out the record.
Got my cheat sheet here.
Yeah, of course. And looking at this schedule, I think UConn set up to get off to a really strong start in conference play. That first game against Providence, first of all, side note, well done, Big East, for doing that. The first Big East game that UConn gets as a member of this conference again with fans in the building is going to be against the team that I think this fan base hates the most. So very well done. Then, that first road game is a real interesting one. You go out to Marquette and play Shaka in one of his first Big East games. No guarantees with that and X, but then with Butler after that, they have a pretty good chance to start out, 3-1 here. And if they can do that, kind of off to the races.
That's what my takeaway was from those first few games. If we're going win-loss, on each of these, I got them off to a 3-1 start with the loss coming at Xavier. I'm expecting a better Xavier team this year. Yeah. They return a lot of guys. I'm expecting them to be a tougher out, especially on the road. I know UConn went in there a little bit underhanded last year and pulled out a win, but not. It's going to be a tougher game this go around.
If they can split X and Marquette,
yeah,
good with that.
Yeah, agreed there too. And I'm really looking forward to these games against Butler. I think Butler is going to be that team in the Big East that I think could surprise a little bit this year. I was impressed with them towards the end of last season as they were able to pull things together a bit more and see that development from some of their freshmen in particular, who I think are just going to make things tougher. I don't think they're going to be a pushover like they were when UConn played them a couple times last year.
Yeah, they might not be. It's going to be interesting. They went 10-15 last year, but they bring back virtually their entire team.
Yeah,
and you could say, well, bring back a 10-15 team, you're going to get a 10-15 team. But as you pointed out, they did play well down the stretch last year. They beat Villanova. I know Seton Hall kind of fell apart, but still they beat them. They beat Xavier. So they won 3 out of 4 before falling to Creighton in the Big East tournament. So if they can kind of ride that momentum, they might be a dark horse team to maybe finish in the top half of this conference.
Yeah, that's what my thought was of them, possibly being one of those teams to finish in the top half there. I know someone put out the odds earlier to win the Big East from Fox, and I was shocked actually that Butler had the second worst odds there.
Yeah.
That just surprised me there. I don't think they're that bad. I don't think they're at a DePaul level by any means. I see a team like Marquette and Georgetown a little bit over and having some better odds than them surprised me a bit. So I might just be bullish on Butler, but those that kind of takes us through those first 4 games there. The next stretch I think is going to be interesting because you get 3 on the road, 3 out of 4 next 4 on the road at Seton Hall, home versus St. John's, at Providence, at Butler. So
I mean,
it's
Butler's the only road game there.
oh, is it? Did I miss those?
You know what
All
I'm
right.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what you're I like that. I like that. But I think it's going to be interesting that you're going to play Providence and Butler twice in a 3 or 4 week span there. I think it's going to be interesting to see, and especially if Butler can be a tougher team, and Providence seems one of those teams that could finish in the top half of the Big East as well. I think those are some good games early on, just to see where this team is in the first half of Big East play.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good barometer for them. What's interesting is that, that they're playing Butler and Providence twice in that stretch. They don't play Creighton or Villanova at all until February. And I think
Right.
that probably works out well for UConn, giving them a little extra time before they have to face those two. Then again, that could also make for a rough back half of the schedule.
Yeah, agreed. It's going to be interesting. I marked down here. So I think they might have had Creighton and Villanova back to back last year at some point, if
I think
I'm
they did.
remembering correctly, which they do again this year, home versus Creighton on February 1st and then February 5th at Villanova. But the stretch to me that really stuck out, and I think is going to be kind of a key one in the season, is going to be the 13th of February through the 22nd, where they go St. John's and again another home game at MSG, home versus Seton Hall, home Xavier, home Nova, which I think is a really interesting stretch for that team. Kind of gives you 2 of those games that I think you probably should win 3 out of those 4, with St. John's, being at MSG could be a bit of more of a coin flip. But getting Seton Hall and Xavier at home, if this is a UConn team that I think is going to go far, those are 2 games they need to win heading into that Villanova game there.
Yeah, I mean, really, you need to win your home games.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. UConn did not do the greatest job of that, or really has not done the greatest job of that over the last couple of years. They lost 3 games at home last season. One, I guess you could say, criticism of this UConn team last year is they never really picked up a marquee win.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple big ones on the road. The win at Marquette, the comeback was obviously
Yeah.
impressive. You mentioned
Winning
the
at
one at
Seton
Xavier
Hall.
that they pulled out, Seton Hall. They were solid. Didn't beat Creighton, didn't beat Villanova last year.
Right.
Here's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Especially the second one at home, February the 22nd. Third game of a 3-game homestand, and then you're headed out to Georgetown after that. You can really, really build up some momentum heading into the last few games of the season here and finish strong.
Yeah, and when you look after that Nova game there on the 22nd, you finish at Georgetown, at Creighton, DePaul. So if you could have some momentum going into that Villanova game, maybe you beat Villanova at home, you've got a good chance to probably finish off 2 of those 3 to end the season and really get some momentum heading into the Big East tournament.
Yeah, hey, how are you feeling about Creighton?
I'm not that high on Creighton, and
I'm not either.
They were another team that shocked me when I saw those odds. They have the second best odds to win the Big East at plus 450, which just seemed really, it just didn't seem right to me. They lose a ton of players. They're bringing back, virtually no one. It's just a big unknown for me.
I think people are really overvaluing that recruiting class.
Yeah.
And it's good. Don't get me wrong. They're bringing in 4-star rated players, 4 in the ESPN top 100. So that's awesome. But I think that means that they might be great in a couple of years.
Yeah.
If you want to rely on freshmen to win the conference or to finish in the top 2 or 3 in the Big East,
Yeah. Good luck.
they need to be 5-star guys. That's the only way you're going to do it. I mean, you look at some of the 4-stars that UConn's brought in over the last however many years. Really good players,
right?
But not ones that you would want to lean on as a freshman. I mean, think about Andre Jackson. You know, if Andre Jackson was UConn's go-to guy last year, how do you think that would have worked out?
Right. No, I agree. And I think it's just overvaluing Creighton based on what they've done in the past and putting a lot in the basket of those recruits coming in.
Also, UConn is also bringing in 4-star guys ranked in the top 100.
Yeah.
And have better players coming back.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a betting person, unfortunately, you won't be able to take UConn to win the Big East here in Connecticut when we go legal in a couple of weeks here. But if you're out of state at plus 1,100 there, it's an interesting bet there and some good value. It was interesting to me to see the teams that they kind of throw UConn in with there, and that's Providence, Seton Hall, and St. John's are all in that range. So UConn's plus 1,100, Providence, Seton Hall, St. John's all plus 1,200. And I don't know if it's just me being a bit of a homer here, but I would have to say that I'm at least expecting this UConn team to be a bit of a step above those teams there.
I am too. First of all, Villanova's winning the conference, so no reason to get upset about the odds over anyone else. It's going to be Villanova.
Yeah.
I think UConn is the second best team in the conference, and that's not me being a homer. At least I hope. Creighton, as we said, could be very good eventually. They could get there. Not sold on them. I think UConn has a better roster right now. Seton Hall wasn't all that great last year.
No.
They really weren't. And I don't think there's any reason why we should expect them to be a whole lot better. St. John's has some major question marks. Butler bringing back, virtually everybody. That's awesome, but you kind of got to see it to believe it. And come on, Providence.
Yeah. All right.
I think UConn. I would pick UConn to finish second in the conference. As a fan, I'd be able to live with finishing anywhere 1 to 4.
Yeah. I think that's fair. All right. We've had Tom on hold here for a little bit. Let's see if Tom can get in. Tom,
hey guys, can you hear me?
We can. Yes. We can. Oh, what's going on, Tom? How are you? I recognize that voice.
Yes. I didn't know I would be on camera, so that's why I'm killing the camera for now.
No problem.
I'm going to start off with a lighthearted question. I don't know if you are aware, former St. John's assistant just filed paperwork to sue the program with Steve DeMeo.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
Wrongful termination. So my question is, though, I was thinking about this, but didn't UConn start this with Kevin Ollie? And then we have Miles Powell at Seton Hall. So I guess my question is, which Big East school is going to get sued next? I vote Villanova, and I think it's going to be by the state of North Carolina for what happened in 2016.
They have a case.
But getting back to the Big East, though, too, I think with UConn, it's just like on paper they have so much talent, but they can have some off nights. They need. I think the two key words for UConn going forward would be development and consistency.
Yeah. Yep. No, I'd agree, and there are definitely going to be nights there where they can be gotten. They're good for at least one of those what the heck losses come conference play each and every year. So
just don't be Providence. Just don't be Providence at home first night of the conference schedule.
No,
just don't do that.
Part of me is a little afraid
again.
knowing UConn's record in conference openers. I wish we had Puneet here because I'm sure he knows it off the top of his head, but
it's abysmal.
Yeah, it's probably like 1 in 10 over the last 11 there.
I would say this: UConn should play Providence at Providence on Ryan Gomes night. I think that would go over swell. But no, it's definitely going to be interesting. But getting back to Creighton, I think they're a year away.
I agree.
Like they're gonna this is Dan Hurley get us while you're down. This is the year Creighton's gonna get. They're gonna get some probably take their lumps. I thought Creighton, with the comments that came out from Coach McDermott, pretty much the whole all the assistants left. No one took advantage. I thought Creighton was going to be in trouble, but they did come back. They do have a strong recruiting class. I expect them to be down, but I think Creighton. They got out in front of the story. So I do see potentially Creighton being a consistent threat to Villanova on top.
Going forward, yeah, not next year, I don't think.
No, definitely not this year. This is like, the beatdown year.
Yep.
But stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'd call it a beatdown year. Like
Yeah.
I still think they're going to be pretty competitive, but I would not pick them to finish.
I would
second.
say for Creighton standards, I'd say a beatdown year.
Okay.
Where they'll probably be like maybe around 6 or 7 conference wins.
You think only 6 or 7 conference wins?
I'm thinking too, I think because they're a young team going on the road. I don't see them beating Villanova. I think UConn's a very difficult matchup for them. Also, Georgetown has been a nightmare matchup for Creighton, even though Georgetown hasn't been the Hoya paranoia they've been decades before. Georgetown gives Creighton some problems. And, even though they're losing a lot of guys, they still got Ryan Mutombo. They're another team that has a top class coming in. They're going to be big and physical. And I see them giving Creighton some problems.
It'll be interesting to see. Russ, if I had to give you one team that you would pick to finish over Creighton that someone might not expect in a normal year to finish over Creighton, who would you take?
Oh, that's a good question. I might take Xavier.
That was my answer too.
Listen, Paul Scruggs is 35 years old. He's still playing here. I don't know how it works, but the
Big East's going to have some old guys next year.
Yeah, they are. And
like
of course,
how old? Like Aaron Thompson. Aaron Thompson's like 42, right? Like
yeah, like Isaiah Whaley is like middle aged.
Yeah. But no, I like how we both thought Xavier there. Tom, appreciate you giving us a call in tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
we'll be in touch during the season.
Definitely. We'll talk later, Tom.
Thanks.
Russ, when you look at the schedule, is there a game that really scares you?
Other than, the conference opener, because as we mentioned, the history there. Let me see. You know what? We were talking about Xavier, that home game against Xavier, February 19th, right before the matchup against Villanova, has the potential to be a little bit of a letdown coming up. You maybe looking ahead to what could be a huge game. It could be that Nova game could maybe decide who wins the regular season. But Xavier's a good team. You can't overlook them. If we're saying, this UConn team might be a little inconsistent, might lay a couple eggs, that seems like one that could be a good candidate.
Yeah, that could be a good one there. For some reason, I mean, we saw what St. John's did to UConn at home last year. The MSG game gives me a little bit of a pause there. I don't want to lose that game at MSG on Super Bowl Sunday, but it's one of those that I could just see them losing.
Maybe it isn't Super Bowl Sunday the week before when they're at Villanova.
No, I think the Super Bowl's late this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's February 13th.
Ah, all right. Well, I'm not worried about losing to St. John's at the Garden. I know that's going to be a very heavy pro UConn crowd. I think the team will be excited to play at MSG. I'm actually really looking forward to that one. Obviously, I will be there.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. In terms of looking at this schedule, what do you consider a successful season for UConn here in the Big East?
Do you want me to give you like a record?
Yeah, what do you have?
This team could go 14-6.
That's what the exact number. Just so we know we're not cheating. 14-6.
Oh, you wrote 14-6. And I know that's a tall order.
Yeah,
but Big East I don't think is as strong this year as it is most years. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of depth to it. I think there are a lot of teams that could potentially make the NCAA tournament, but I don't think there are many candidates for, say, a top 5 seed.
Right.
Villanova, obviously. UConn, maybe. Other than that, though, I don't think there's anybody really of top 25 quality.
I think when you look at it, I think any of those teams that finish like 2-5, 2-6 range in the Big East are just going to beat up on each other and could kind of be a coin flip in most of those games there.
Yeah, but it's going to make the Big East tournament a lot of fun because you're going to have teams that have
Definitely.
a lot to play for.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I agree again that 14-6 was the number I had written down. I think if they end up with 13 wins and go 13-7, that was my other choice, that throwing another loss for them. I think that would end it at the end of the day, be okay for them. And I think they'd be all right. But I think that's probably kind of anything less than that. And I'd probably be disappointed in this team.
Yeah. I mean, you want to see improvement year over year here. Now, this is year 4 under Dan Hurley. Every team he's had has been better than the one that's come before it. Without knowing how everything else is going to shake out, how the non-conference is going to go, and what other teams are going to do, my gut tells me that in order to make the NCAA tournament, you probably have to go at least 11-9.
Yeah.
And maybe you have work to do at MSG. That's like the bare minimum to get in. That would be a step back from last year when UConn was in rather comfortably.
Yeah.
So I agree. 13-7 would kind of be the minimum that I would be happy with. Yeah.
I know we've been talking Big East schedule tonight, but now we've got the complete schedule, and someone actually just put this in the chat. In terms of out of conference. What were your thoughts on the out of conference schedule? Quite frankly, I was a bit disappointed.
I was too. I'm willing to give Dan Hurley a pass because I know, the series with Florida fell apart when COVID hit.
Yep.
You're playing 20 conference games now, plus a 3-team MTE.
Yeah.
Plus you have a commitment in the Big East Big 12 Challenge.
Yep.
So there's not a whole lot of room to do a lot. Would have liked to get a better, at least a couple of good mid majors.
Yeah.
Instead of say LIU and Central.
Yeah.
The other side of that though is, I do like giving Central a game in Patrick Seller's first season, friend
Definitely.
of the program. That's fine. Never going to complain about playing a couple HBCUs. UConn's got 2 of them on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of stinks if there's not a marquee home game.
That was the thing I was looking for. Yeah.
That's the part that kind of stinks. But, going to West Virginia, playing a top 25 Bonaventure team on a neutral, playing an Auburn team that's projected to be
really
almost
good,
exactly as good as UConn is. So that's going to be fun. And then in the second game in Atlantis, you're either getting Michigan State or Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
That's going to be really tough as well. So, I feel a lot better about that out of conference schedule now, seeing it paired with the conference schedule.
Yeah.
But you already knew the 20 Big East games and what they were going to be, obviously, because it's double round robin. But seeing them all together makes me feel a little better.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And I actually do like this year, and they haven't really had the opportunity to do it as much in the past years, is getting a good road game in during the non-conference schedule. So to go to West Virginia, that's going to be a really good test for them, I think. And it's just something that I think ultimately will make them better come Big East play and getting that experience in a tough road game.
Oh, yeah. And especially facing, a Bob Huggins coach team in a hostile environment. UConn could lose that game and I could come out of it feeling better about the team.
Yeah.
Because they are going to rattle UConn in some way with the way that West Virginia traditionally defends, coupled with how much more efficient they've become on offense in the last few years under Huggins.
Mm-hmm.
It could give them a lot of problems, and being able to see UConn work through that in a game that really there's no risk to.
Right.
When you lose to West Virginia, everyone loses at West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly.
You win there, and it's huge.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a game where UConn's depth could actually help them, especially as Huggins going to try to run them all night. And I think what you'll see too is coming out of that West Virginia game, I'm pretty sure Bonnie's game is a couple days later. So I think that gives you a really nice opportunity to either have a bounce back or really solidify and show that this UConn team is really strong. Because say you beat West Virginia and then can come out and beat St. Bonaventure in a neutral floor, another top 25 team there. I think that that shows that this team will be real, or say they have a letdown at West Virginia and can come out and beat the Bonnies. It shows this team can still compete, and that, was maybe just more of an aberration or just the result of playing in a tough road environment.
Yeah, I mean, you have back-to-back chances to beat quality NCAA tournament teams.
Yeah, and what's nice is they'll get some games against quality teams before those two in those Atlantis games.
Yes.
So
yeah, and kind of blindly picking without obviously knowing who they would play in the second and third game. I'm thinking if they could win 2 out of 3 there, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, agreed.
And if they only win 1 out of 3, I'm not going to panic.
No,
that's a ridiculous field, and there will be quality teams that only win 1 game.
Right. No, the field's stacked this year there, so I'm really looking forward to that tournament. Whatever ends up getting us playing Cuse, right? Would you rather play Cuse or see the Hurley on Hurley matchup?
Right now, I'm gonna say I'd rather play Syracuse, but I mean, this is how it always is. Always want a game against Syracuse. When it's happening, I want to die.
Yeah.
Like it's the most nerve-wracking 2 hours of the regular season for me.
Yeah.
So right now, my answer is Syracuse. You ask me again on game day, it'll probably be Arizona State.
Arizona State. Yeah. No, I think I lean Syracuse, but part of me just wants to see this Hurley on Hurley game that otherwise will probably never happen.
Right.
Like this is your one chance to get that game, probably, unless the NCAA tournament feels like throwing one at us.
But also, really though, beyond the lead up to it, what's the intrigue there? Like you're gonna forget about it once the game starts, right?
Yeah, until they go with the boxes of the two coaches.
Yeah, they'll do that. If they could both get ejected, that'd be really cool. I'd like that.
We need it to be like the Frank Haith one against Tulsa, where they like fist bump each other on the way out after getting ejected.
That was like UConn's experience in the AAC in a nutshell. It was like UConn loses the game. They're playing Tulsa. Dan Hurley gets ejected for shaking hands with the other coach. It was that just had everything.
It did. That was the full AAC experience in 2 hours. I see we got here in the chat asking how many NCAA teams from the Big East. And I think this is going to be an interesting question that I feel like is tough to give a guess at right now, given that I feel like so many of these teams, there's just so much unknown about them, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's probably,
I was going to say
maybe
4.
only 3 teams in this conference who, if you told me they were going to make the tournament, I'd be surprised. Like Paul, obviously, I'd be surprised if Georgetown made it. And I think St. John's.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
I think just about anyone else can. The problem, as you mentioned earlier, is that they're going to beat up on each other.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, I feel comfortable saying Villanova and UConn. And then give me 2 more out of Creighton, Providence, Seton Hall, maybe Butler, Xavier, Marquette. I think they'll get 4 in, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not expecting much out of Marquette this year. It would surprise me. It would surprise me if they're overly competitive. I mean, Shaka, who knows? But just given some of the turnover there, they'd surprise me. I think I'm a little higher than you on St. John's. I think they have some nice pieces, but I feel like every year we get the story that they're kind of like Texas football. That St. John's is going to be back, and this is the year that they could be that underdog pick in the Big East to make a run, and they'll win a couple and then fall apart a little bit.
Maybe they can. I'll be honest. I'm not as well versed on their roster.
They do bring back one. I love Steph Smith from Vermont, and with him transferring in, I like that. I'm curious too to see how the Seton Hall plays out with the transfers that they brought. Yeah, and it just was someone just put it in the chat with Yetna and Richmond there joining Seton Hall. I think should be interesting, and that's why I just think it's so tough to predict this conference right now until you start to see some play out there, because I do think it is pretty tight, and a lot of these games I think are really just going to be coin flips.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not thrilled about seeing Yetna again.
Yeah. He's a Connecticut guy. He was the Connecticut guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to go to UConn, and UConn didn't want him.
Oh, great.
He wanted.
All right, so we can count on
that road.
We can count on Sonogo going off at Seton Hall and Yetna giving us trouble when they come up this way.
Yeah.
I saw someone, who was it? Store South here asking for who we think will lead UConn in scoring this year. And I think that's the $1 million question about this team this year.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we don't know who the go-to guy is going to be.
Yep.
And I don't think that's as big of a problem as maybe people make it out to be. First of all, they'll figure it out. Secondly, I think people are kind of hesitant to anoint a big guy as your go-to. Like, you just want it traditionally to be a guard or a wing. But it could totally be Adama Sonogo or Isaiah Whaley.
Yeah.
Like, Sonogo had his moments where
definitely.
And Whaley, as a 15th year senior, certainly as well. And of course, they're both capable of winning Big East Defensive Player of the Year too. So that's awesome. My concern is I don't know who it would be in the backcourt. And that could be an issue. I'd like to. Obviously, Tyler Polley needs to be more consistent.
Yep.
Tyrese Martin, same thing. Needs to obviously finish a lot better. RJ Cole needs to be more consistent. Sensing a pattern here.
Yeah.
It could end up being Jalen Gaffney.
I like that. I like that. I think there are just so many intriguing pieces here this year that I just think it's going to make for a really fun season to watch. There are going to be so many different lineups and matchups that Dan Hurley can throw out there, depending on what he wants to do at that time. And we haven't even mentioned any of the freshmen yet either.
Store South just did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jordan Hawkins. Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, and I'm still not 100% sure what's going to happen. Like, we got Corey Floyd all of a sudden, dropped in our laps for this year. Like, when and what is his role going to look like if there is a role for him heading into this season?
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to answer a lot of these questions, particularly about the backcourt in that West Virginia game.
Yeah. Because
that's not one that's going to be very well suited for guys like Whaley and Sonogo to really dominate.
Yeah.
The West Virginia is going to turn you over a lot, and you need confident ball handlers. So I think the pecking order is going to be sorted out by that game a little bit.
One thing, what do you think? One thing that shocked me a little bit, I saw John Rothstein when he was up at UConn put together his projected starting lineup, and he didn't have Isaiah Whaley in it.
Yeah, this is the 5th consecutive year he did not include Whaley in his projected starting five.
Whaley's got to start, right?
What?
Whaley's got to start, right?
You would think. Oh, also, we haven't even mentioned a cook.
Right.
This team has so much depth, but also so many question marks.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be interesting to just see these guys out there and what a Cook's game even looks like right now. We barely. What did we get? Maybe 10 minutes of a Cook action last year.
Yeah, and like 2 of them were awesome, and then 8 were entirely forgettable. And I guess he hadn't played in a year. You can't really expect too much more than that.
No, I didn't have any expectations for him last year. Like, just to see him on the court was somewhat surprising to me.
Yeah. And it was great. And he gave the team like a little injection of energy when it needed it a couple of times. So that was really nice to see. I don't know. I would love to see him, really start strong this year and force Dan Hurley to make some difficult lineup decisions.
Yeah. Like I said, there are just so many ways you can mix and match these lineups here, depending on what you want to do. And it's going to be interesting to see who's on the court at the end of these games.
Yeah.
I mean, we can argue all we want and debate who's going to start or what, but come crunch time, who he's going to go to will definitely be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, the amount of experience that UConn has is going to certainly favor them at the end of close games. But we also have some questions there as well. I mean, RJ Cole missing his free throws, Tyrese Martin not finishing at the rim. I mean, these are things that need to be cleaned up if you're going to win those those type of close games. I mean, I'm thinking about the Creighton game, obviously, the first one at Campbell. Thinking about how winnable that game against St. John's was, even after they coughed up that lead. They were still right there. The collapse at Providence.
Yeah.
So, they've got
even if they're finishing layups, that Maryland game looks a whole lot different.
That Maryland game is maybe the best example.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason they should have lost that game. Thankfully, they would have lost by 40 to Alabama 2 days later, so it doesn't hurt too much. But it was frustrating at the time.
Yeah. No, Jay here. I wish I was going to the Bahamas.
Oh yeah. Anyone going? I'm not going. But
no, I wish.
If anyone wants to take me, I'm a lot of fun.
Come on, forget the Bahamas. We got Newark against the Bonnies in December.
That's a doubleheader. That's a men's women's doubleheader. I'll be at both games. I can't wait.
That'll be fun. Once I found out there was the doubleheader component to that game, I liked it a lot more.
Oh yeah.
Part of me was why can't they just do a home and home with St. Bonnie's? Like St. Bonnie's is a good team. Like I know you probably don't want to go up to Olean and play them, but that would have been a pretty good home game for me if they could have gotten that this year and been one that I could have gotten excited for.
I would say Denham Brown probably disagrees with you. Rashad Anderson probably disagrees with you. I'm trying to think of who else was on that team. But to be fair, the way that matchup came together, I think, is a little strange. And I'm trying to piece it all together in my head. I was at that Never Forget Tribute Classic. That's what the event is. I was there.
Right. They played Florida State there, right?
They did. And then whatever the next year, I was there in 2019 when they had it, 2019-20 season.
Okay.
And I was talking to one of the event organizers after that, and she wouldn't tell me the teams, and I was really trying to pry. But she said, this 2020 game is going to be amazing. We're going to sell out the building. And then she said something like, it's a team we've had here before. And I was able to kind of deduce that it was supposed to be UConn Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
In Newark last year, and it didn't happen. And she also kind of hinted that there was going to be a women's game as well.
Okay.
So I'm thinking a UConn men's and women's doubleheader has been planned there for a while, and they just needed to get another team. And you know what? Bonnie's going to be a top 25 team. That's going to be a quad A game. So
that I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that game.
Yeah,
that's one that I'll definitely I'll definitely try to make my way down to Newark for that one and get both those games in there. But
that reminds me, I know we're going on 40 minutes here, but another great thing about this schedule is that every road game that is in driving distance
is a weekend.
Is on the weekend.
Yeah.
Providence, Georgetown, Villanova, St. John's, Seton Hall. That's amazing.
If you had to pick one of them to get to, like you could only go to one, which one you taking?
Well, first of all, I'm going to all of them. I would pick Georgetown because that is the one home arena I haven't been to.
Oh, okay.
I've never been to the Bryce.
You're not missing a ton.
I know. But still, I need to check it off the list.
Yeah.
I was there for an A10 Media Day a couple years ago. But
okay. Yeah.
So I need to check that off because I've been to Providence, I've been to St. John's, been to Seton Hall, been to Villanova, been to Butler. I think that's it though.
I've never been to Providence, so that's the one I'd like to. If I could only pick one, I do Providence. One of these years we'll get Butler or Creighton on a weekend because I would like to make it out to one of those just to experience the game there. I'd love to get to Hinkle, and I feel
Hinkle's amazing. I would go back every year if I could.
And the crowds are just crazy at Creighton, so I'd like to experience that once, and then I could check Nebraska off the list of my 50 states and call it a day. Yeah,
I've never been to Nebraska either.
Yeah, so there's the opportunity to get there. I unfortunately didn't get to Kansas with Wichita at the in the AAC days. But.
I have been to Wichita State, Kansas, and Kansas State, and they're all outstanding.
Okay, all right. Maybe do a Kansas road trip there. And
I've done it. It was great. Did Wichita State when they were still in the Valley, and then No, first night it was Kansas against TCU at the
Okay.
Fog. Awesome. The Fog is amazing.
Yep.
Next day was a Wichita State game. I think they played Illinois State. Awesome. Wichita State's a great venue. And then the next day was Kansas at Kansas State.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
the game where Kansas State won, stormed the court, and like Bill Self got pinned against the table. I was like right there. Yeah.
Oh, you got good ones there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm seeing in the comments here we got beer at Gamble. It's gonna be it's gonna be a wild fun year.
The beer
Everyone's been cooped up, right?
Yeah. I do want to say there is a downside to the beer at Gamble. Certainly outweighed by how amazing it is that there's beer at Gamble. But the bathroom situation at Gamble leaves a lot to be desired. And now selling beer there, there are going to be some lines. There are going to be some wet pants.
Yeah.
But hey, I could live with that. I'll wear a diaper.
Yeah. Well, everyone will make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But well, Russ, thanks for hopping on tonight. This is a lot of fun. Get us back in the basketball set of mind here.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. Next week's October, so we're gonna have first night coming up. It's gonna be the season opener before you know it. I'm glad I get married a couple weeks before the season starts. It's like a nice thing to hold me over and keep me occupied. Keep me occupied until we really get to the crunch run of heading up to the season there.
Yeah, say that to your fiance. See what she says. Let's see if you're still getting married 2 weeks before the season starts.
Just wait till I tell her that her birthday, or she's from the Philadelphia area. Her birthday is the day of the Villanova game at Villanova. So, maybe we'll go home and visit your parents and
guess we know what you're
doing. We'll see. But we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up. So, Russ, thanks again for hopping on. Fun to be talking some UConn basketball. I know Big Slick has been joining us for the Below Deck talks, but it's nice to be back on basketball.
Absolutely. And if anyone who is still watches Below Deck, tune in because this is the greatest season I've ever seen of any version of that show.
It has been. So tune in Monday nights. I'll make sure I'm available. Sorry, Netch. But all right, everyone, have a good night. Get ready for some UConn basketball and stay in touch. Thanks.
All right.